Welcome to Chapter 5, Developing Awareness. The reason why this is important is because we have often automatic reaction based on our biases, our experience, what's right and wrong in our culture that creates a snap judgment of somebody else, and we might not even realize it. And becoming aware of it allows us to avoid these poor mistakes, but also learn about ourselves. Like, what are ways that really bother us or not bother us, or what's good for us, what we like, and learn about others as well, and build better relationships. So when George, a Hungarian engineer, was working with a Chinese American colleague called Chen, they would sometimes have lunch together. And the way Chen eats, mouth open, chews, loudly. So George was disgusted initially, and he judged Chen as being unintelligent, uneducated. So this one action have George judged Chen as a whole person. Now later, as George developed his cultural intelligence, he realized that the rules of proper eating might be different for Chen than for him. Maybe nobody ever taught Chen how to eat, meaning that there was no importance put on like eating one way or another. It's also possible that it's the opposite of Hungarian culture, where eating loudly is how you appreciate show that your appreciation for the food. So the fact that they follow different rules doesn't make one right, the other wrong, or any less of a person. So once he realized that George was judging, George realized that he was judging Chen following his rules, not the rules that Chen was following. And once he realized this, every time somebody or something unusual happens, he suspended his judgment and first tried to understand what's bothering him, so to learn about himself, and then what he can do about it. So in this case, he would simply just eat a little bit later or listen to some music while he's eating. I mean, when they're not interacting, obviously, he's on the other side of the table. So there were some small things he could do to change it. If it was something more serious, then he would also approach the other person, share how he feels, ask about the other person, and then they can find a good solution without all this like negative judgment. Now, I often talk about context. When you change context, that's when things happen poorly, because you change context, but you don't change the rules that were true in one context may not be in the other one. The same thing happens for leading. Leaders are often saying, "Oh, a lead from the gut," meaning like a lead from intuition. Yes, that's good. It worked. It developed for you in one context. It became so good over the years you don't have to think about it. But when you change context, it's like driving to a new area. You take out the map, you slow down, look at the GPS. You don't just go with the gut. And many of the challenges with cross-cultural businesses, it's because of this. Somebody goes to a new country, new context, they think they know how to lead, and they fail. There's Todd, who was an executive at a US mining conglomerate. He was a charismatic leader, and his charismatic demeanor and self-effacing humor was what made him a successful leader in the US. When his company made a merger with an Algerian company, he got to spend some more time managing one of the facilities near Tamanrasset, which is in the desert. And the leadership style that made him successful in the US did not work for the Algerians. They couldn't take him very seriously. Somebody who makes fun of himself, from their perspective, that's an incompetent leader. So this feature was endearing for the Americans, but didn't work for the Americans. And so after a more experienced colleague took him aside and explained to him the situation, made him understand that changing cultural context, just like as I said earlier, is like driving to a new place. You have to reassess what's going on. Now, Todd adapts the leadership style whenever he visits a mine in the US, Algeria, or China to great success. The key is to be aware when changing context so that then you can reconsider your behavior. Like, something changed. Should I change this the way I lead or not? But at least asking the question. Maybe the answer is no, but being aware that, something's changing, let's see what's going on. Is everything still good? Yeah? No? If no, then you know what to change. Or find out, you know that you have to find out the information. So a way you can develop this awareness is practice mindfulness meditation. This has become very popular here in the US the last few years. And the way you can start this is with silent meditation. You sit down, sit straight, close eyes, and then you set a timer for maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes in the beginning, and you focus on your breathing. Just focus on like in, out, and if your thoughts go somewhere else, it's okay. Just bring them back. And you can start by 5 minutes and increase it to like 20 minutes, and there's even scientific benefits from this. I'll include some links in the course notes, so this can actually be good for your health. And what this does is that over time you can get a sense of your feeling of your body, like, okay, what are the sensations, so that when something is annoying you or something is not the way you like, you can sense like, okay, when it feels like here, it begins as a beginning of a feeling of being upset or angry. That's when you can consciously like slow down. Okay, this is beginning to be annoying, but let's try to see what's going on and why. And often once you have the answer, it's no longer annoying. Like when, let's say, I'm on the highway and I see like this bad driver, it can get really annoying. But then if I drive by and I realize it's somebody's grandmother who can barely see, like, the frustration immediately goes away. I just hope that, wish her well, that she can make it home without breaking the car or, injuring herself. So once you're aware and you can slow things down, then you can make sure you have the right reaction. And sometimes you make mistakes, it's fine, but you learn from it. Say something annoying you, you react in a certain way, it was not the right one. Learn from it. It's like, okay, how it felt, why did you do this? Maybe ask some trusted friends or do some research to see why did they do this? And understanding the why often helps in many ways. So in terms of the reaction, I ask myself always why like 3 times. I also seek to understand before judging. Now, if somebody behaves, let's say we're in Hungary, and somebody who is in my same background and they eat their food very loudly, then judging them as poorly educated may be valid, but then we can go on deeper levels, like, yes, maybe they haven't learned how to eat, but doesn't make them a bad person. So advanced level. But if you change completely cultures, then it can be actually the opposite rules might be applying. And journaling helps. So when you're working with a new team, you can write things down, your feelings, your thoughts, revisit them, reflect on them, discuss with a friend. So there was this time where Pierre, he knew, he didn't like some people. And for a long time he thought, yeah, you just don't like some people. And I mean, you don't need to like everybody, that's true, but maybe it's good to find out if there's nothing more to it. So one day he was complaining to a team member, to her friend Stephanie, and Stephanie asked, like, why don't you like the person? So Stephanie told him that if he finds out why he doesn't like the person, maybe that can help with the bad feelings. And some of these people he worked with, so you don't choose your colleagues always. So Stephanie suggested to Pierre that he journals, also practices mindful meditation. And what he realized is that what made him uncomfortable is when somebody was in his personal space. So personal space is the area around you, the bubble, which if somebody who you don't know enters, you feel uncomfortable. And he realized that when people were stepping into that, that's when he felt uncomfortable. He didn't know why, but he didn't like the person. And once he realized that, he already knew consciously that people have different personal spaces. And with this new awareness, he was able to notice that when this happened, so Pierre is of French-Canadian background, which have a bigger personal space than, let's say, Mexicans or Lebanese. So now he knew that, Lebanese person in my space, that's when it begins to feel bad for me. Then he knew either to step aside or take a break, or just being aware of that, this is just this. Like once you know, then it doesn't bother you. It's when you don't know why sometimes something is bothering you, that's when you might have an issue. So now, instead of judging people harshly, which often undermines a relationship, because you judge somebody harshly, then they can kind of tell, and then that might have been a good friendship or a relationship. Well, they're not going to like you if you treat them with contempt, for example. So as an exercise, try silent meditation, 5, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe you can build up. So close your eyes, sit comfortably, sit back straight, and focus on your breathing. If your mind wanders, come bring it back. Once you've done this for 2 times, the third time, look at the sensations in your body. So scan your body from top to bottom. Close your eyes. You're like, okay, how does my scalp feel? Does my inside feel? And then you might see like, oh, there's a little bit of I'm hungry, for example. Oh, it feels a little bit hungry there. And also, the next thing is when you have interactions with people who are different. So different professional background, different cultural background, who look different than you, pay attention to your feelings. Maybe some things that they're doing that make you uncomfortable or annoy you. It could be behavior, the way they talk, what they say, and take notes. What are positive, what are negative? And then once you've taken some notes, you can share this in the group and pick one that you're feeling comfortable sharing in the group, but also with some trusted friends and maybe their experiences, and you can compare notes. So do the exercise, share with us. I'd love to hear about it, and we'll see you next time.